So today I'm gonna change the rear shock on this Jamis, but I got a really good deal. The only thing is that the shock was blown, and this is a Cane Creek AD8, which really is not available anymore. So my son's gonna be using this bike as a commuter. I was thinking of getting a more expensive shock, but for a commuter bike, I didn't want to put too much in it. So I went with a cheap Coil shock that actually has good reviews. And from a brand that has good reviews also, the DNM shocks. And I considered getting their air shock, which has rebound and lockout and everything, but that's overkill for this bike that's going to be used as a commuter. So when you get a shock for one of these vintage bikes, sometimes it's really hard to find because they tend to be short. In this case, so I measured it out. You measure it eye to eye, and it's 6.5 inches, which is 165 millimeters. The one I could find was a 165 by 35 millimeters. And so I bought this guy for 30 bucks. First concerning thing on this was, it says, warning, cancer and reproductive harm. Kind of scary. It's for Californians. It says WWP 65 warnings, california.gov. So if you live in California, this can cause cancer and reproductive harm to you. So first things first, I'm gonna remove the two pivots here, remove the shock. And on the other side, I have a 10 millimeter wrench. And the bottom one doesn't use a bolt on the other side or a nut on the other side, it's just a bolt. There we go. So this is the Cane Creek AD8, and it has compression, C, rebound, R, compression and rebound control there. And here you can compare the two shocks. The AD8 is way lighter than the DMN or DNM shock. It comes with a 750 pound-inch spring, and you would adjust it here. But as you can see here, these are 8 millimeter bushings. This is a 6 millimeter bushing. So I'm going to have to remove the bushings from here and transfer them to the new shock. So we just take the bushings out of the old shock. I'm going to carefully pry. Alright, so I just give it a solid tap and it slid in. Now to get the rest through there, I'm going to use an 8 millimeter socket, put it on here, and finish tapping it out. Alright, so I did pound these out on the floor just to give me a more solid surface than this table. But you definitely don't need a press for these. I just actually literally just a couple of swift hits with the mallet and they popped right out. So on the original one, the ones in the front or in the top are a little shorter than the ones on the rear. You can see this is narrower than the bottom. So this one is, they're both the same width. So on the bottom, I'm going to have to use some washers to make up the difference in size. So I had a little setback. What happens is if I put the washer here, the edge, which is like a little tapered edge, doesn't catch here and it'll have play. So if I don't use a spacer or a washer, there's no play. It hooks right in there. If I use a washer, the washer sits on the outside of that tapered edge and it moves. So what I had to do was, this is aluminum, so I just took my Dremel and I cut about 2 millimeters off. So now I can fit these in there and they actually fit flush. Okay, so there's no play side to side, and I'm going to use a washer on the outside. So now the washers are on the outside of the bushings. And we can screw this back in. And hopefully there will be no play like there was before. There we go, perfect. So before there was play here in the bolt because the bushings were not seated properly. Now cut the bushings, put the washers on the outside, and now there's no play. All right, so everything feels nice and solid now. The mount, no play. I rode it around, it's actually rather plush. And then if I bounce on it, the rebound is not adjustable, but it's just about right. It feels real good. It's gonna be great for a commuter bike. So if you like my videos, subscribe, hit like if you like this one. As always, thanks for watching.